Hey everyone, before we begin, at the end of this video I'll have my first impressions for Horizon Forbidden West, so stick around to check that out. Okay, so a bit of backstory for why I'm here making this video. Several years ago, not too sure how many years exactly, I bought Horizon Zero Dawn after hearing so many great things about the game. It had been out for about a year or two when I finally bought it. So I basically said, better late than ever. After doing all the downloading and updating, I proceeded to play the game. At first I really enjoyed the game. It takes some time to really get going, but after you're done with the proving, things pretty much open up entirely to you. I also really enjoyed the open world. There's plenty to explore and plenty to do. I even thought Aloy was an interesting enough character, but I did feel like some of Ashley Burch's delivery as Aloy was somewhat hit or miss at times. But that's just my opinion. However, once I got about 10 or 15 hours in, I felt like the game started to drag. The open world started to feel too big, and the story felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. In hindsight, though, all of this occurred just as I was getting to Meridian, but we'll get into that. So to put it plainly, I got bored of the game, and I stopped playing it. After a while, the open world got too big and too boring. The story became stale, and Aloy became a hit-or-miss kind of protagonist. But in the years since playing Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time, my tastes in games and stories has changed, and I'm trying more things that in the past I felt like I wouldn't have been too interested in. So I decided to give it another shot. Initially, I laid out some dumb ground rules that I would have had to follow, like making sure I completed the main story and completing enough side quests to where I maintain a decent edge over the game. However, I ended up going for the Platinum Trophy, which I got after about 50 hours of playing. I even bought Frozen Wilds to give it a shot, but for now I'm opting out of not doing that. I'll explain in a little bit. Now, with all that being said, do I still hate the game like I used to? Short answer, no. I rather enjoyed my experience during this playthrough, but there is a long answer. Although I enjoyed playing it this time around, I do feel like the game is not without issues, and I still don't fully understand why everyone loves the game so much. Let's start with the middle ground of this game, the story. The reason why I label the story as middle ground is because the story is kind of cliche, along with most of the tropes within it. The main character is a girl named Aloy who has been unnecessarily labeled as an outcast because of her tribe's BS laws and was raised by another outcast. Turns out Aloy is a bigger deal than initially expected because she was born inside of her tribe's sacred mountain, and now she's the only one who can solve the mysteries of the world and also save it. I know that's a gross oversimplification of the plot, but my guess is that if you're watching this video, you've played the game and you know the plot, so there's no point in going into it with a whole bunch of detail. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that Aloy, our main character, is a typical nobody who turns into somebody. Then there's Silence, who in my opinion is the best character in the game, who follows the somewhat antagonistic overseer of the protagonist as he gets her to do his bidding trope. For real though, these characters have the best chemistry out of all the characters in the game. Also, of course there's Aaron, who's the drunken oaf who has to step up after a family member dies. I could go on and on about some of the other stuff within the game, but you get the point. With all that being said though, the reason why I'm giving this the middle ground is because even though the game is one giant cliche, it's because it executes all of those cliches perfectly. Also, the reason why I wanted to mention Meridian again is because the first time I played Zero Dawn, I only got to Meridian, and the story really picks up after you get there. So in hindsight, I didn't give the game enough time the first time I played it. I should also say that I did give Frozen Wilds a shot, but I was ready to be done with Zero Dawn at this point and move on to Forbidden West, so I didn't get too far into it. Okay, so here's the worst part of the game for me, the open world. The open world is too big and you have fast travel limitations. For a fair portion of the game, you can only fast travel if you have fast travel packs, and although you can kind of stockpile these, if you're not careful, you can run out of them pretty quickly. Now, I'll admit that the fast travel issues were eventually solved for me when I was able to buy the unlimited one, but I didn't notice that I could buy one of those until much later in the game when I had already completed a majority of things. Don't get me wrong, I know the point of the game is to override machines and ride those to make fast travel easier. But before Frozen Wilds, you couldn't pick up any items from the back of machines, so I spent most of my time on foot making sure that I could pick up the supplies that I needed. I know that all sounds like personal problems, but nevertheless, it was still frustrating. I think this all could have been resolved with one of two ways. The first being that the game should have 2 free fast travel points, with one being in Meridian and the other one being somewhere in Nora territory, or you could fast travel to certain points on the map if you're mounted. Now the best part of the game, which was the gameplay. I'll admit that I didn't give the gameplay enough of a chance the first time around because I didn't get that far into the game to unlock some of the other weapons. The game starts you off with a simple bow and spear that you can't really do much with beyond Nora borders in the game. But when you start unlocking other bows and weapons, things become incredibly fun. As I learned the weaknesses of machines, it went from taking forever to take down a Thunderjaw to taking them down in a matter of minutes, if that. Also, as you progress through the game, leveling up and getting more skills, you become incredibly overpowered, and it feels really good, especially when you get the hidden armor and become basically invincible. Anyways, I'm glad I gave Horizon Zero Dawn another shot. The story and the gameplay kept me interested in the game enough to get the Platinum Trophy and to continue Aloy's story in Horizon Forbidden West. But at the same time, due to some glaring issues, I still failed to see why everyone loves the game so much. However, Forbidden West is a much different story. At the time of recording this video, I'm about 10 hours into Forbidden West, so here are my first impressions. So far, the game is vastly superior to its predecessor, and I could tell that most of my gripes from the first one were corrected right off the get-go. First of all, the fast travel system has been overhauled into something that I can completely get behind. There are now fewer campfires in the open world, and you can fast travel between them without using a fast travel pack. The next thing that I like about Forbidden West is the game doesn't hold your hand combat-wise. The enemies are substantially more difficult to bring down, and in order to bring them down quickly, you have to hit them in a weak spot or with an element that that particular machine is weak to. I'm also finding Aloy to be considerably squishier. The machines are fast and they hit hard. Aloy takes heavy damage when she's hit even by the smallest of machines. Now, I don't know if the reason why it feels that way to me is because I went from being a fairly overpowered Aloy in Zero Dawn to starting over in Forbidden West almost immediately after I beat Zero Dawn. Nevertheless, Forbidden West is demanding that I be more tactful when entering combat. Last but not least is the presentation of this game. If you think the PS5 gloss for Zero Dawn was incredible, Forbidden West improves on every aspect from environments to how characters interact and move on screen. As it stands, Forbidden West is the best looking game on PS5 so far, especially in resolution mode. I'm really looking forward to what else this game has to offer, and I plan on pursuing the Platinum for Forbidden West just like I did in Zero Dawn. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing for more videos just like it. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.